Namaste, namaste, and welcome to this short practice for developing a home practice. So, today is actually not necessarily a follow along practice, but it's an advice about how you develop a home practice, how you can build one so that you can fill in those gaps between yoga classes or perhaps the holidays when your yoga teacher is away. So, one of the fundamental principles of building a home practice is just establishing a habit of practicing at home. And I find the best way to do that is to put my mat down somewhere and leave it there. So, if you have left your mat on the floor, it's always very easy to step onto the mat and do a few minutes of practice, whatever you've got time for. So if you can't do that, then there's just that extra step of rolling the mat out sometimes scuppers people's efforts. So try if you can to just carve out a little space within your home to pop your mat on the floor and have it always ready. Don't be necessarily tied to a particular time of the day. Usually every day of the week is different, but if you do like routine and you have a good pattern of routine, then you might like to say this is the time for practicing yoga and timetable it into your day. I personally just like to find a few minutes every now and again when I feel like doing it. Of course, I'm practicing most days anyway. And the length of time you practice for doesn't matter at all. So if you've got 5 minutes, do 5 minutes. You might find that if you step onto your mat, you end up practicing for longer than expected. Have a clock handy so that you can tell. So when you come to your mat, it's a really good practice to start with a little bit of silence or stillness that helps you separate the time of yoga from the rest of your day. And you can do that standing with a simple hands onto the abdomen and notice your breath for a few moments, or perhaps sitting and just finding a sense of length in the back of the body, closing the eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. A few deeper breaths and noticing how your body feels so that you know what will be the most useful things to do in your practice, but also perhaps things that you might avoid. And then just making that mental step away from the rest of your life into the time and place for yoga. I find it helpful to think about whatever's on the floor as my point of grounding, my sense of center. And particularly if, like me, you are prone to a slightly slouchy, slumpy posture, then you can think about length in the back of the body in any position, whether that be lying on the floor, sitting, kneeling, standing. Finish with a deep breath in and just sigh gently out. That helps us to relax the chest and shoulders and the throat. And if you've had your eyes closed, you can open them. And then just releasing the hands to roll the shoulders, maybe make some movements through the neck. Make sure you're feeling loose for your practice. So within the yoga itself that we do on our mats on any day, we're looking to move the body in every direction, particularly the directions that perhaps our postural habits don't afford us. So, for example, I don't do a lot of side bending in my normal day. So I like to do it when I'm on the mat. And again, that spiraling that we sometimes do in yoga, I do much less of that in real life than I do on the mat. But we are looking to do something that bends the body forwards, something that bends the body backwards, something that bends the body to each side, and something that creates a twist across the body to each side. And these are called the 6 movements of the spine. And they're actually, we rarely practice them completely isolated, but I like to add also a spiral. So something that bends us forwards and twists, and bends us backwards and twists as well. So this is my sort of 8th, I guess, movement of the spine, or 7th movement of the spine, I should say. So you can do those 6 or 7 movements of the spine in any position. So you can do it lying on the floor, kneeling or sitting or standing or on hands and knees. So I'm going to take you through a few of these. So if you are standing, we can do a standing cat-cow, and we can start with taking the arms nice and wide to open the chest, and then roll the backs of the hands towards each other, taking the chin to the chest and scooping the belly in, softening the knees. So opening the front of the body, this is your back bend. Rounding through the spine to open the back of the body, it's your forward bend. And we're just practicing this perhaps with our breath a few times until it feels nice and smooth and graceful. And all the sticky bits have been unstuck. Let's do one more. Finish with your arms down at your side. And you'll notice that it also works your shoulders, which is quite nice. Doing composite movements in yoga allows us to access a bit more of the body at the same time. We can take that same position of the arms and do a twist. So we would breathe in center and breathe out to twist in one direction, maybe wrap the arms around the body, breathe in, back to center, breathe out to twist in the opposite direction. So breathing in to stand tall, breathing out to twist, breathing in to stand tall, breathing out to twist. Let's do one more in each direction. Breathing in, breathing out. And then we can come back to the center, float the arms down to the side to give them a little bit of a rest, and then do some side swaying. So you can make your side bending different depending on how far apart your feet are, will depend on how it feels across the rest of the body. So perhaps doing a little bit of everything. I find feet together the most demanding, so I start with my feet apart with just a gentle sway of the hips from side to side, thinking about that lift in the belly muscles, maybe thinking about keeping the arms still to begin with. And once I feel a little bit warmed up, you can allow the arms to follow the pattern of movement. They really like to get involved. It's quite hard to do side bending without the arms. And then I might soften that knee that I'm moving towards just to have a little bit of extra movement down the side of the body. Move in a way that feels good to you. And you can look anywhere that's useful with your head. So if it's better to look forward or even to look up, that's great. You can do a combination of all of these things, and you'll have also used your neck in 3 different ways. When you're ready, coming back to the center, just floating the arms down to the side. So we've achieved the 6 movements of the spine. And then to do the spiral, I like to do that by using the arms. So we're really looking to move the functional line across the body from the one shoulder to the opposite hip. So here, a twist does a little bit of that, a side bend does a little bit of that, but a spiral does it the best. So taking the feet nice and wide, and then using one arm to make a big circle in the air, and you can firm your feet into the ground and use your belly muscles, and then you get this whole functional movement that does actually everything that we've just done: forward bend, a backward bend, side bend, a twist, and the spiraling motion. And it's a really lovely practice to do nice and slowly, aiming for smooth movements. And when you've done one side, you can do the other side, just spending a moment in the center and then making that big circle around the body, nice and firm across the legs, supportive across the belly muscles and the buttocks as well. And if you allow your head to follow the movement, so the neck is not rigid, then you'll also get a sense of release across the neck, perhaps. And if you prefer to keep your head more steady, then you can absolutely do that too. One more to finish with the arm down by the side. So this practice so far, we have done our 7 movements of the spine. We've also, in the course of that, limbered quite a few things. We've perhaps used our movement to release some tension or some stiffness. And so to finish, we need a balance and an inversion. So an inversion is anything that takes the head below the heart. A standing forward bend would be great. And a balance is anything that encourages us to use a little bit more balance. So you could just come up onto your tiptoes, and that could be enough, or it could be one-legged or on your hands or your forearms or something like this. So today I'm just going to do a standing forward bend. So I'm going to make this quite nice and wide forward bend, taking the arms out and up, and then folding forward from the hips. And as I come down towards the floor, softening the knees, the aim is here not to necessarily cause any distress in any of the tension that I hold in my back, holding the arms elbow to elbow. And I might like a little gentle sway from side to side here, keeping the hips back and the tailbone lifted, scooping the belly in, just finding a way towards center, maybe turning the head or gently nodding the head. And then I can let the hands come down towards the floor. If they don't come to the floor, just naturally keep them crossed. Or I might place might try and lengthen the legs, maybe one at a time, or maybe both at the same time. And then just hold for a couple of deeper breaths. I might play with the weight across the feet, into the toes, into the heels, somewhere centered across the feet. And then when you're ready to come up, you can come up either by hinging forward and then bending the knees, or you might like to bend the knees and round up to center or to standing. Doesn't matter which you choose, as long as it feels good in your body, feels right for you. As you come up to standing, love the gentle opening of the chest to take the body in the opposite direction, just as a natural counter pose. And then to balance, because we've done our inversion as a forward bend, we might like to do a back bending balance. So in this case, we could do dancer's pose or Natarajasana. So I prefer not to balance on my mat, so I'm just going to put my mat a little bit out of the way, and take my foot to a solid ground. And then choose a point of focus ahead of you that's not moving. Moving your weight onto your right foot, slide your left foot back on the floor. So we can start with flying angel pose, and then if that suits you, you can stay there. And if you like Lord of the Dance, you can come into Natarajasana. So here we're standing on the right foot, we've got the toes of the left foot on the floor. We reach the right arm forward so that the palm is facing forward, and reach the left arm out at shoulder height, palm also facing forward. And then here, we are going to simply stretch into those hands to float the left toes off the floor. Use your point of focus, firm in the belly and the buttocks, drawing the shoulder blades towards each other, holding as you breathe. And then for those who would like to, you can reach for your left foot. And if you wish to, you can extend that left leg behind you to find that beautiful open shape of Natarajasana. Hold as you breathe, and when you're ready, bringing your foot gently down towards the floor, standing onto both feet. Balance is not the easiest thing. So my point of focus was a tree that was moving, and I often tell people, don't choose something that's moving, but I was ignoring my own advices. So we do the same thing on the other side, just noticing how the two sides feel, stepping onto the left foot, having the right toes on the mat, finding that openness at the front of the body, lifting the left arm with the palm facing forward, taking the right arm out at shoulder height, palm facing forward as well. We draw the shoulder blades towards each other, but lengthen into the arms and the hands to find that lift of the right leg. Little softness in the standing knee, so we're not locking it straight. And then finding your point of focus, you can stay here, or you can catch hold of the right foot and try to extend the right leg to bring you into that beautiful open back bend of Natarajasana. If you wish to, you can also flex your right foot. Little gentle deep breath in and out, and then lightly stepping onto both feet, releasing the arms down, making any moves that feel good. And you have done a complete movement practice, and now it is time for relaxation. So you can come down to the mat in any way that feels good. We're just bending the knees into the chest, hugging them towards us a little, making any moves that feel good. Maybe releasing the hair from behind the body. And then we're simply finding Shavasana. So you might start with a constructive rest with the knees bent and the feet on the floor, and maybe a turn of the head from side to side. And then when you're ready and your back feels settled, you might extend your legs to find corpse pose or Shavasana. And of course, there are lots of different ways to relax, and lots of different positions that you can do that in. So it might be legs up the wall or legs up onto a chair. You could recline on your sofa or in bed to do your relaxation. But whatever you do at the end of your movement practice, give yourself, I would like to say 7 minutes as a minimum, but I know some people only have 5. But 7 minutes, 10 minutes is better, 15 is even better still. And it doesn't matter if your relaxation is longer than your movement practice. It's often the bit that our bodies crave the most, is this conscious rest rather than sleeping. So today, of course, I'm just demonstrating rather than doing the whole thing. So at this point, I'm going to sit up again, bending the knees into the chest, just hugging them towards, and then coming up into an upright position, mostly so I can move my mat a little bit back to where it was for the next demonstration of practice. So we've done the 7 movements of the spine in the standing, and then worked through to be a whole practice to come towards the floor. I can hear my family on the other side of the door just making themselves known, so apologies if that comes through on the video. So we can do those same 7 movements of the spine, and I'm going to demonstrate it lying down. So starting from that position on the back of the body, and you can do it on the front of the body as well, but we're going to do the back of the body for now. We might combine the two. So starting in constructive rest is a really nice place to begin. And again, as you come to your mat, you might take a moment of stillness just to let the body feel heavy, maybe gently turn the head from side to side, and then feel your way into that moment of mindfulness where you notice how the body feels, where you tune into your breath, your connection of the body downward. Find that sense of grounding. And then for practice on the back of the body, I like to begin with a stretch. So taking the legs long along the mat, and then reaching the arms over the head, pointing the toes, reaching into the fingertips, feeling the length in the front of the body, breathing in here and breathing out the arms down by the side. And you could do the same thing, flexing the feet, pressing the low back down into the mat, reaching into the fingertips, so you could even reach into the backs of the hands. And exhaling to bring the arms down to the sides. We can bend both knees into the chest, hug them towards us. This is a forward bend. Draws the thighs towards the torso, and here we do a little rocking and rolling on the back. So the circles that you can make in all different directions. And the other thing that you can also do is bend one knee in and lengthen the opposite leg and swap sides. Bending one knee in, lengthening the opposite leg, just using a little bit of tummy muscle action to do this more mindful and more concentrated, bending 3 to each side. Very nice. So this constitutes our forward bend, and we can take the feet down to the mat and we can sway the knees from side to side, releasing the arms wide, just allowing the knees to go from one side to the other. And this is our twist, spinal twist. You might do it completely dynamically. If you've got like a few minutes to practice, you might practice dynamically and then hold if you have a few more minutes. Once you've done your spinal twisting, we can do a little back bending. Arms can come down by the sides, and we can just gently rock the pelvis backwards and forwards to float the hips off the floor a little bit, finding bridge pose, keeping the backs of the shoulders and arms engaged downwards. Just rolling up and down to begin with. And again, you can practice completely dynamically, or you might come up and hold for a few minutes. And as you're holding, you might be able to add a little bit of that spiral action. So that would be lifting one hip as we drop the other one down, or keep it neutral, and then lifting the other hip. So pressing into the left foot to lift the left hip, pressing into the right foot to lift the right hip. Firming the buttock as we lift the left hip, firming the buttock more as we lift the right hip. And then in the center, you can also do that spiral with the arms instead. So leaving the hips still, reaching the left hand over to the right side of the body, and coming back to center, reaching the right hand over to the left side of the body and back to center. So this spiraling we're doing in a back bend. I find it's the easiest spiral to do from the floor. There we go. 3 to each side, and the resting all the way down. And if you like to, at the bottom of this movement, you can, of course, draw the knees into the chest, maybe even the feet up towards the ceiling. And this would be our inversion. So the feet are up, the rest of the body is down. We can roll the ankles, which I quite like to do. And if you wanted to, you could rest with the feet against the wall to do Vipariti Karani, a legs up the wall pose, which is also a nice one, but you can just do it like this. Hold it for a few minutes, shake the legs around, soften the feet, support with your hands on your thighs if you find it difficult to hold the legs upright, soften the knees as much as you need to as well. When you're ready, you can release the legs down, lengthen the legs away from you, reach the arms up, and we'll do our side bend by walking the feet to the right, walking the hands to the right as well, and resting in banana pose. Now here, your feet can be separate, or you might like to cross the legs. Some people enjoy that. Just taking a few deep breaths, turning the head in any direction that feels good. When you're ready, you can come back through center, perhaps releasing the arms down to the side for a moment. Give yourself a little wiggle, and then walk your feet to the left. Walk your hands to the left, maybe turn the torso to the left a little. It could be feet together, ankles crossed, either left over right or right over left, or perhaps just side by side. And just spend a few moments resting in this side bend. And when you're ready, releasing out, coming back through center, maybe bending the knees into the chest finally, hugging them towards you, maybe even head towards knees for a moment before releasing down. So even if you have done your practice lying on the floor, you still need to do relaxation. So taking your opportunity to find the relaxation pose of your choice. And if you've done your practice lying on your back, you might like to choose lying on your front for relaxation. We don't do it very often. We often do it as a resting pose in class, but it's not often done as a full relaxation. But making a pillow out of the hands, turning the toes towards each other, the heels apart, but keeping the legs separate. And then nice and soft across the belly, finding that contact with the front of the body and the floor. So that would be a full practice, or a complete practice, I should say, from the floor instead of from standing. And of course, if you wanted to do that practice from lying on your tummy, you can do back bending, forward bending, side bending, twisting, all from lying on the tummy or from something like child's pose. And you can do it from sitting, you can do it from hands and knees. So I hope this has given you some nice ideas. I might try and record a little short practice for each of those positions, perhaps with some postures that we haven't looked at today as well. Feel free to add the postures that you enjoy doing. That's finding joy in your practice, I think, is the most important thing. And if you have an opportunity to do a separate breathing, so if it's just coordinating your breath and your movement and being mindful of your breath throughout the practice, that is in itself a breath practice. But if you're able to add something like Ujjayi or Kapalabhati or extended exhalations or counting of the breath, then you will further enhance the practice that you do. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been useful. I hope you enjoy your summer break and see you again soon. Namaste.